Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me, as always, is Jamie and Harley. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
And so we're missing the oyster mouth himself, James. Still can't get you two right. I tell you, even when I'm writing it down, I still get you two confused.
But one's Jamie and one's James.
I know
it's not difficult.
And you would really not. You would have thought that the amount of times that I have to write your two names down, that by now I would have had it, but no, still don't. Anyway, James is doing other things this week, so we'll be back next week to join us. So let's start in traditional fashion with a drink of the week, gentlemen. Who would like to go first? Jamie, do you wanna rock this one first?
Yeah, I got a good beer this week. So I have got from Harbour Brewery, based in Tenby, Sea Bass. You might be familiar with them, Lee.
Yep.
For our YouTube podcast, you all listeners, but for the YouTube, you can see there. Look at the label. That's a picture of Sebastian Chabal. So this is the wanky bollocks that's on the beer bottle. So Sea Bass French Pale Ale was originally created for the Six Nations rugby tournament in honour of the popular nickname of retired French player Sebastian Chabal, a force on any rugby pitch and well known for his distinctive billowing mane of hair. Taste, as the style suggests, the beer is all about the French hops. So it's a beer after Sebastian Chabal. It's 3.9. It's a French Pale Ale, and it's really, really nice. I like this one a lot. Very nice.
It sounds better than the Brains attempt to do a tribute for Alan Wyn Jones called Ale Wyn Jones. And the best thing I can say about it was it tastes like I imagined drinking his sweat would taste. Because it just had this weird sort of saltiness to it, and it was not a good point.
Well, I'm sure that Sea Bass Ale won a couple of awards a few weeks ago. It got some high reviews, and there was some award because they do another one, which is it was a Welsh one. Can't remember what it was, but they had the two of them up there. But
yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, it wasn't in my Christmas Harbour Brewery pack, so I am missing a few. Harley, what have you got, mate?
So I've got something that will pique Jamie's interest because of the name and the stylings, but I think it's more your sort of beer, Lee. So it's the Trooper, but the IPA. So I said I just saw it on the shelf and thought I haven't had Trooper since a very unfortunate night playing a gig in a pub in Bridgend, which I don't remember very much of after getting off stage. But yeah, it's lovely little IPA, 4.3%. The wangy bollocks in it's just basically saying Bruce Dickinson did this with the brewer of the people they do the regular Trooper beer with. But it's, yeah, lovely.
It's a great beer. I love the Trooper. Great band, great beer.
I've never had it. Never tasted.
Lovely.
It. Yeah.
Robinson's Brewery. This Robinson's that brew it. That's very nice.
It's a very nice, just standard ale. You would really get on with it, Lee.
Well, I am coming to the end of my Christmas and birthday beers. I've got this week and next week, and then I'm going to be open about this. I'm open to offers. So if anybody wants to send me a beer to review on the pod, then I'm more than up for that. Drop us a line because I'll go for that. I've run out of weird beers to taste. So this one is just a standard. It's a Gower brewery. It's an Oxwich IPA, is 5%, and the wanky bollocks are very, very simple. Sweet and balanced and more than a bit hoppy. This tasty, bold IPA is born from American hops, creating a zesty, citrusy, orangey flavor sensation. I mean, it tastes like beer, but I'm not getting a sensation of any sort from it. But it's very nice. It's all right. That one. It's a decent beer. So But yeah, if anybody does want to send us some beer, I mean, I don't think any of us have got any moralistic issues with having free beer and tasting it on a pod and saying whether it tastes nice or not. So crack on.
Absolutely not. If anyone wants to send us free beer and sponsor the pod, please do.
Beer, cider. Also
Yeah.
opened a cider. I'm partial to cider. I know James wouldn't say no to gins because he is an old maid.
Mm.
Which
Yeah.
I'm just saying because he's not here because I love gin as well.
Well, I still like my Christmas rum. I'm desperately trying to find an excuse to go back and get some more of my Christmas rum, but yeah, I'm running out of time. They're going to pull it soon. Anyway, right, let's move on to news desk. Jane, what have we got on the news desk this week, my friend?
News. Right, let's start with Scarlets related news then. So Johnny McNichol, he's left the Scarlets with immediate effect to return to New Zealand. The 33-year-old asked to be released from his contract early. So McNichol made 130 appearances for the Scarlets over 8 seasons. I gotta be honest, I didn't realise it was 8 seasons. He'd been there for longer than I realised. Anyway, yeah, he was there for 8 seasons. He scored 57 tries, including one on his debut against Leinster in 2016, and he won 10 caps for Wales. I found this news to be a bit of a shock, Lee. I don't know about you. What was your reaction to the news?
Not really. No, we were expecting him to go at the end of the season.
Yeah.
The rumor that kind of went around last summer was when Halfpenny was leaving, and he was kind of like, right, well, okay, well, I'll be there for the World Cup, so I'll be in the World Cup squad. So he was going to stay, so he committed to another 12 months, and then he didn't make the World Cup squad, so he can't. And then he got a bit injured, and it was a bit like, right, as soon as he was back from injury, he was off, sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, he's had some fantastic games for the Scarlets. He's one of the best attacking fullbacks. I think he played more on the wing initially, and he's quick. He's actually genuinely lightning quick on the wing as well. So yeah, it is what it is. This is where we are. As a group of teams, we're going to lose those players back to where they came from. He won't be the last person to leave the Scarlets, possibly this month.
Do you know where he's going?
The rumor
it hasn't been said yet, but they reckon it's Crusaders, don't they? Because
I was going to
Halfpenny's
say, because
injured.
is he following after the other Scarlets fullback who went down south? Because obviously he's injured until maybe the knockouts.
Yeah,
That's the rumor, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was always going to go home at the end of this season anyway. So the whole releasing players early, I mean, there is coverage there for him, and there's young players coming through. So yeah, bite the bullet, make a bit of space, and keep more players for next season. So yeah, it'd been some fantastic memories watching him. So yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, I want to make one point just purely because some of the comments and stuff I saw under the news moaning about McNichol obviously coming over here playing for Wales on residency. He played 8 seasons. How many seasons did Thomas Francis play in Wales? How many seasons has Lewis Rees-Zammit played in Wales? Actually, a lot of these players were like, "Oh yeah, they're Welsh. We love them. No, they've not played here. They've done the Catherine Zeta-Jones and fucked off as soon as they got a better money offer. He actually came here and chose to play in Wales. So to spend 8 years, it's not like he did the minimum and then was like, all right, now I'm a Welshman.
I think the thing is, but he made the effort, like learning the national anthem and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And Hadley Parks was the same. I thought he. And then he saw a chance to go to Japan because, let's be fair, he's not going to get anywhere near as battered and bruised as he was the way he was playing for Wales and the Scarlets.
He got battered left, right, and centre, didn't he?
I said, you're talking about Nick Tompkins. Nick Tompkins is not a walking mummy like Hadley Parks is on the pitch. Let's be fair.
Yeah, Hadley Parks used to go looking for it though. He'd go, there's a brick wall. Let me run at it. He'd be like Scrappy Doo. Let me at him, Uncle Scooby.
He's the most the best way to describe Hadley Parks is probably the most South African Kiwi I've ever known.
Anyway, yeah, Johnny McNichol's off, so miss him.
Yeah. So speaking of Welsh Kiwis, then Gav Anscombe, he's been offered a 1-year deal to play for Gloucester. According to Rugby Pass, Anscombe was shown around Kingsholm last week. No news on that yet, so we have to keep our ears and eyes open for that one, but that could be quite an interesting move for Anscombe, couldn't there? And a good sign-in for Gloucester if he manages to stay fit. But yeah, worth keeping an eye on for that one. In other news then, sorry, Ali, what do you want to say about
I was
that?
just going to say, it's reuniting an international halfback combo, isn't it? With Thomas going up there, and him and Anscombe have played together for years.
Yeah,
And,
it's
play
true.
off, and I think they play really well together.
Yeah, like I said, we'll have to see if that move comes off. But moving on then, so the rugby paper, they reported on the weekend that Dragons have promoted Sam Hobbs to forwards coach after Luke Narroway decided to leave due to a reduced contract offer. So I did a bit of digging on this. Luke Narroway has not left yet, but he is leaving. And it appears that some other members of the coaching team will be leaving as well. So Luke Narroway won't be alone in leaving. It sounds like the Dragons are going to restructure their coaching team, which, let's be honest, is needed. I think it's fair to say, because these guys are Dean Ryan's men, they're not Dave Flanagan's choice. So I think it's the right thing to do to restructure the coaching. But also, I was thinking about this as well. Sam Hobbs must be the busiest coach in world rugby, right? Because let me just tell you who he's coaching for at the moment. So he's part of the coaching team at Newport, for Newport RFC. He's head coach of the Dragons Academy. He's helping the Dragons out with defence. He's coaching the Wales under-20s. And now he's going to be Dragons forwards coach. I mean, honestly, how has he got the time to do all this? He must be the busiest guy in world rugby. But I know they do think quite highly of Sam Hobbs at the Dragons. So, yeah, best of luck to him.
But
yeah,
he's not been a coach.
a lot of roles, isn't there?
But he's not been a coach for that long, though, has he? So he must
No,
be
he
doing.
hasn't.
Yeah, he's been doing something right to get that amount of recognition that quickly. Do you know what I mean? He must be. He must be very highly rated, because normally you've got to build up a bit of reputation. You've got to have a bit of. You've got to produce a bit of stuff on the pitch first. So he must be doing something right somewhere, because yeah, that's like you say, it's a lot of people showing a lot of faith in him to. Or he just goes, somebody goes, we haven't got a coach, and he goes, me, I'll do that. I'm available.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because let's be honest, he is, as I said, he is highly regarded at the Dragons. I know that, but it is also, let's be honest, a cheap option, isn't it, to promote from within, and that's what they're doing with Sam Hobbs. And like I said, he's got a few strings to his bow now. He is with the Wales under-20s, so it sounds like he's going to be a key part of the Dragons coaching team. So yeah, best of luck to him, and we'll see what the coaching team looks like next season. But it is going to be different. For what we're seeing now. Like I said, I think that's needed, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah. Moving on, would you believe it? We've got another review in Welsh rugby. So to quote Brenda from Bristol, oh, another one? Yes, that's right. Another review. So a new plan for rugby in Wales will be published in June after the completion of a full strategic review into the Welsh Rugby Union. So this review is being supported by Portus Consulting, who are a leading global management consultancy who provide independent advice to organisations in the world of sport. On the agenda will be finding a way forward for the professional game in Wales with everything on the table for consideration. It's almost like we've heard this all before, isn't it? But everything's on the table, Parry. So, Harley, I'm coming to you. Another review into Welsh rugby. Thoughts?
So what's going to happen is they're going to say, you either can cut down on all your benefits to member clubs and execs and fully fund the regions, or get rid of the Dragons and the Ospreys, or because that will be the ones that they will say, everyone will kick up a fuss and we'll lose half of the regional fan base. Is what will happen. Or worse, they'll merge two teams and both sides, both fan bases are unhappy, and we'll lose all of the fan base. So it's going to be the same answers that happened in the last review, and then nothing will happen.
I was just checking my phone to see if the email had come through to invite us to put our ideas forward as representatives of the fans, but I can't see it in there. So maybe that email's got lost somewhere. Welsh rugby's got like 3 million selectors and 3 million chairmen and all of that kind of stuff, doesn't it? And we've all got our own ideas about what's right and what's wrong and all this. But yeah, you do get to the point where you just think like, another review, and the bit that pisses me off with this is that we're going to review, but we're going to talk to the same people again. We're going to talk to the same people that have got the same ideas and the stuff that isn't working at the minute, because these are the people that know. And if you're going to do a review, do you know what? Just do it a bit bigger. Go and do other things and show a bit of backbone and go, actually, this is what needs to be done, because it isn't about just the regions and the national team. If that it depends on the remit of that review. How do we make the national team successful? Yeah, if that's the remit of that review, then the guys playing in St. David's and Langham are fucked. Yeah, and all the kids playing in school are screwed. What's the point in playing? Because we're back to that same bit about everything's about the 23 men on that Welsh squad, on that Welsh bench. So yeah, I'd welcome that review if it is genuinely open and honest. It includes everyone, and if everything is on the table, then everything is on the table. Then let's actually look at it, because the worst thing you can do now is say you're going to hold a consultation and then not ask enough people for their opinions. And that's where they've always failed before. They've asked for opinions from people who haven't played the game for 25, 30 odd years and sitting in a bar and going, oh, well, when I was playing, we used to do this. And when I was playing, we used to do that. And it don't work like that. We need to get more people involved that know what they're talking about, people who are involved in the game now, people who are involved in the school game, the college game, the club game, the professional game, fans, everybody needs, if we're going to do it fucking properly. That's the least they can do, is do it properly. So
yeah, but how much is this going to cost as well? We've spent a lot of money on these independent reviews, haven't we? That's money that could go into the pro game. So let's just see what the outcome is. And like Ali said, I think it's just going to be the same old recommendations, proposals to cut the team, proposals to, other stuff. It would be the same stuff we've heard in the Oakwell report and the other stuff. So yeah, we'll have to see on that one, won't we? So just to end news desk, then I want to talk about Sinead Harries for a few minutes. So she ended her 14-year career in style, scoring a try and a drop goal to help Brithion Thunder to a Welsh derby victory over Gwalior Lightning in the Celtic Challenge at Parker Scarlets over the weekend. The 34-year-old won 78 caps for Wales and scored 28 tries and played in 4 World Cups. Fantastic career, brilliant servant to Wales, and an excellent role model for women in the game. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Sinead Harries, because I think she deserves that. Fantastic player, and best of luck to her in her retirement.
Sinead,
yeah.
Sinead.
Yeah.
Sinead, okay. I do apologize.
But nothing compares to her.
No.
Fucking hell, that shit. Well, I was going to say about the women's game, that possibly the biggest game in the Welsh women's game this season, on the home turf, actually something on the table to play for, and just fuck all coverage. Again, you can go on, I think it's on Rugby Pass or whatever, and watch a very patchy feed that drops out every 5 minutes and all of this kind of bollocks. And again, we've spoken about God knows how many times about just being fair to the women's game and giving them a chance to do stuff. And yeah, every now and again they get an opportunity to do something, and we just don't. Really frustrating that with it, by all accounts, really good game, really interesting game, and yeah, fuck all. And it's starting to piss me off just a little. Not a massive amount, but not on the level of the Connaught referee. But yeah, it's pissing me off that we just can't put a decent set of cameras there and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, more beer.
Just to tap on that, I mean, we've been banging this. Me and Colin have been banging this drum on the Cardiff Central pod because similar to how Scarlet's Fever have sort of adopted Thunder, we've taken on Lightning, and WR don't even mention it. Like you're lucky if they put the team sheet out.
Yeah.
Some of these rounds, and you're like, because I sort of got the Celtic challenge, because if it is something that I do want, we have been trying what we can to promote things, same as we would with any of the regions or with Team Wales, and it's just nothing. And you can see Glasgow are always putting stuff out, Edinburgh are always putting stuff out. I know it's a bit easier because they are in that umbrella and that identity. But the ORFU are doing the same thing with the Clovers and the Wolfhounds. It's it's there. They're pushing this content, and Wales are very good. When they first done their contracts and everything was all, look how great we are. We've given them pro contracts, and when their mini documentary series have been great. But then when they're doing these are their development sites. These are the stars of the future. Yes, we've had the likes of Shawnee Harry's, Alicia Butchers have been in there. Bristol and Thunder basically absorbed a lot of the Worcester girls who didn't get a contract when their team folded. But like Gwalior Lightning was pretty much just all new players, and a few of them have broken into the Wales squad because of it. You get people like Nell Metcalf who wasn't playing on the weekend because he was called up to the main Gloucester team. But I mean, it worked then because the ones who are in the Premier 15s who aren't required by those teams, they've got somewhere to play, and then we've got a place for all these new people. Because one thing they were saying is that yes, we've got 30 contracts, but then that's our pool of players to pick from, and it's quite small. And this gives us a chance to have a wider pool. If anything, the way it's sort of working, actually, I'd argue, is kind of what we wanted the regional model to be, and but obviously with various things that I can't be asked getting into 25 years worth of history. It didn't happen. And if the WI are serious about turning over a new leaf and saying that they're interested in the women's game, it's just a small thing to just say, big derby. They did put some stuff out about the Thunder versus Lightning derby, but not a huge amount. Like I'd say, there's probably still a bit more Team Wales stuff on a bye week than like actual stuff playing, because they don't have their own dedicated Twitter things. Because in fairness, I understand why they haven't set up those accounts, because we don't know what the format's going to be next season. Do they expand teams? I think we shouldn't. I think we stick with 2. I think that's just about the right talent, and you can see it's quite dilute when you look at, we are in the bottom half of the Celtic Challenge, although only just like Gwalior Lightning really were a good kicker away from beating Edinburgh and making it into that top 3. Thunder had a little bit more of a trouble last season. Talking with Carwyn, apparently there's a bit of an issue with sort of the coaching. So I think some of the more experienced coaches were tied to Lightning to try and develop them a little bit further. And they're hoping the more senior girls would help in the Thunder. But yeah, sorry, I've just been ranting for about 5 minutes and we haven't even got to regional games.
Yes.
The point is, for fuck's sake, pull your finger out.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you, mate. I agree. Anyway, anything else on the news desk, Jim?
No, that is it.
That is it. Cool. Okay, so Harley, you've got one stat of the week for us. Go on, give us. You weren't going to put this one out there, but go on, put this.
I might mention that one other thing, but what I wanted to say is, I'm not going to mention the other bit. That's going to be part of my little review. But what I would say is, Cardiff on the weekend had faster ruck ball than Leinster. We had 46% of our rucks under 3 seconds. They only had 37. And then if you actually look at points scored per 22 mid-entry, they got 3.6, we got 3.4. The problem was they had twice as many entries into our 22, so no wonder we got dicked. Or did we?
All right, there's some.
We did.
Yes, you did. You were playing Leinster, mate. So of course we did. Everyone does. Let's start with the Friday night game. Let's start with Ospreys' trip up to Edinburgh. So I was telling Jamie before we started, so I had the decorators in last week, and I managed to get the television back on the wall on Friday night, just in time for kickoff. And then I watched the first 10 minutes, and then I moved the television and I bust the cable that goes from the television, the HDMI cable thing. So I watched the first 10 minutes of the Ospreys game, and then a couple of score updates on my phone, and then I managed to get the laptop to watch the last kind of 10, 15 minutes and all of that kind of stuff. So this one is really down to you boys about what happened in the rest of the game in that Ospreys game. So who wants to have a first crack at it?
I'm going to go with my views on it. I've argued with Yeston from the Ospreys WRRAP Podcast about this, but I thought that was an incredibly un-Toby Booth performance from the Ospreys to quite an extent, because they were playing it in their own half. They were playing with the ball a lot in their own half. They weren't just kicking into the corners and relying on their set piece, which until Havan Sebastian of all people came on, was utterly dominant. Like, they were getting the better of WP now, which just shouldn't happen. But then they were turning down easy points. So I was told that, it's an inexperienced 10. And you're like, yeah, but they've got 2 British and Irish Lions in the squad. They've got Nicky Smith, who's a senior international, Sam Parry, who's an international. You've got the club captain of the Cheetahs, and they're no mugs. Surely one of them should be saying, yeah, go for the sticks. And then I was told that, oh, well, Dan Evans is a young kicker, so he might not be confident. Then find someone else who can kick.
Dan Edwards can kick. He's a decent enough kicker.
You've got another fly half on the who's been getting clutch kicks through it over the last 2 seasons, and it just seemed really weird to me that they weren't playing how the way Toby Booth teams have been winning is defensive pressure, taking the points, and then as soon as they get a chance, they take it. It's basically Warren Gatland, the Warren Gatland Wales in the 2019 era. Like, if you want to know what Warren Ball is, the Ospreys are probably the best team to show it, because it's all about playing smart, a crash ball 12, and making the most of other people's mistakes. It just really confused me more than anything, and they still probably could have won.
Jamie, your thoughts on the Ospreys game?
Yeah, so I was watching this game on my phone. The missus wouldn't let me have it on telly, so I didn't really properly watch it as such. But I think it's a missed opportunity for the Ospreys, actually, because from what I saw, they were quite dominant, especially in the scrum. And Javan Sebastian, to his credit, he did have a really good game, didn't he, in the scrum? But I couldn't understand. So they had that line out right at the end, and you're thinking, if they just keep it simple now, you expected them to, get the driving more going and go over the try line. And they completely and utterly butchered it by trying to do something very clever. It just wasn't necessary. I just can't understand why they tried to do that really clever line out at the end, where they just needed to keep it simple. But I think they will look back on this and view it as a missed opportunity. I don't actually think Edinburgh were that good from what I watched of them, it was some good individual performances. Rudolph at 8, that South African they got on loan for the Cheetahs, he was very good. He was constantly getting over the game line. Boshoff was really good as well. That second row, is it Victor? I can never pronounce his name. Is it Siketi or something like that? The South African players, they stood up pretty well, in fairness. And I just felt it was a bit of a missed opportunity for the Ospreys. That was a game they could have and probably should have won. But, a losing bonus point up in Edinburgh is not to be at the because it is a tough place to go. But I think Ospreys will end up ruining that missed opportunity come the end of the season, because they got a tough run of games coming up now. So I think that was a game they could have and possibly should have won.
Yeah, no, I thought Alex Cuthbert had a decent game as well, actually, moving on from last week.
He's been out injured a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah,
was that his first game? Was that his first game this season?
Second.
He played one at the
He
start.
played against Ulster, didn't he?
He came on against Ulster and basically ruled the skies in that game.
Okay, cool. So, just because I know James will listen. See, done it again. Just because I know James will listen at some point. I'm just going to say Ospreys are shit from start to finish. Not for anybody, just so James can have an angry moan at me on WhatsApp and have a go, because otherwise he feels a little uneasy about stuff if I don't say something bad about the Ospreys. So, but in all honesty, yeah, I didn't see much of that game. My own fault, but there we go. So, so let's move on then to Saturday. Connaught and Scarlets. So I missed the first half. I didn't have a very good rugby weekend at all, I'll be honest with you. I missed the first half of this game, and I had Hugh and Martin on WhatsApp telling me how shit it was. And then I watched the second half, and I thought, actually, it wasn't that bad. They were quite competitive for large parts of the second half. I think we ballsed up about 4 or 5 opportunities that realistically, we needed to take. I think there were 3 kicking opportunities that should have just gone over the posts. And so, yeah, I can see what we're trying to do. I can see now the type of game that we're trying to play, or Dwayne Peel wants to play. And yeah, it's going to take time to build. And I know Scarlets fans are, absolute irate, we can't even beat Connaught and all this kind of stuff. This is the worst team ever, all of that kind of rubbish. But there are signs there, there are, in the second half. I can't comment on the first half because I didn't see it and I haven't had a chance to go back and watch that first half. But whatever mistakes we made in the first half, I didn't see them in the second half. I thought there were little errors. There were bits there that we probably should have put that game away. We shouldn't have left that game in the referee's hands. And as much as people don't want to talk about referees, then don't make stupid decisions. Like, if it comes off your hand and it goes onto the floor, it's a knock-on. And I don't care if he scores a try after and you want him to score a try. If it comes off his hand and he knocks the ball on, it's a knock-on. Yeah, I just it's frustrating. I can see where we're trying to go. I think there's a lot of development in that side. If you look at where we were in the first games in South Africa, so you look at the type of game that we're playing now, there has been an improvement. And yeah, defensively, there was an improvement in that game, which is what I said I was looking for. So I'm not as upset about it. I'm not, as pissed off as some of the other Scarlet supporters. I think it's not developing as quickly as I think everybody wants it to, but it is getting there, and there are small examples of what can be done. And Wyn Jones had a good game, which I haven't been able to say that all season. So, something's changed for Wyn Jones to suddenly turn from, someone that spends his life in reverse gear, and then going forward. So, something's changed, and it is working. It's just taking time, and it's having patience and supporting the boys to say, right, okay, it's gonna take time. But yeah, so what did you? Because James isn't here, we can have a decent conversation about the Scarlets game. So what did you boys think about the Scarlets game?
To be honest, I think actually went backwards in both defence and attack, but I do get what you mean by saying identity, whereas I feel they're nowhere near as clinical as they've been in other games. But there's a bit more of a consistency in how they're approaching, which is positive, because I suppose if you've got the systems and structure in place, then if you're hoping that last pass is going to come a bit more. And I thought defence, they were leaving a lot of soft holes. But again, if it's a new system, it's going to bed in. I agree. Wyn Jones had a pretty decent game. One thing I need, and I basically, I think me and Hugh basically were as close to shouting towards each other as it possibly can. Is we were like, right, you're behind now. Dan Jones is a fantastic controlling 10. Let's bring on Charlie Titcombe. Let's bring on Archie Hughes. Let's inject some pace. Just do something different. Didn't happen until like 8 minutes ago, and you're just like, what's the fucking point in giving him 8 minutes off the bench when the game's lost?
Well, I think up until
if you want him to develop and become a top 10, give him something with some pressure. If all he's doing is coming on in a lost cause, he's not going to learn anything, really.
No, but up until that point, up until that knock on, before that knock on, it was we were 7 points behind or whatever it was, and up until that point, yeah, I can see why he kept the shape. I can see why we kept that side on, and
You had about 30 minutes after then.
Yeah, but I can see why. We were playing well. We should have been better in the execution, but that comes from sticking with those key players. Charlie Titcombe will get his time. Charlie Titcombe will get his time, and it's about being patient. Costello spent 3 seasons coming off the bench with 20 minutes to go. Yeah. And that's how we
20 minutes
developed.
and 8 minutes are 2 different prospects in a game of rugby.
Yeah, I know, but like it's Titcombe's first season. We just need to have a bit of patience with what's happening, and it will come. And Titcombe will force Johan Lloyd to fall back. You can
the fact that all your fullbacks have left or force Johan Lloyd to fall back, but
yeah.
I didn't watch. I was just about to say. So I didn't see the full game. I've seen extended highlights on YouTube. I still think the Scarlets got big problems in defence. They missed 32 tackles against Connacht. That's far too high. For what I saw as well, the line-out still isn't functioning as it should be. That was at a 67 success rate. That's just not good enough. So I still think there's a lot of work to be done at the Scarlets. There were some soft tries, but it's a tough place to go, isn't it? That's the thing. It was always going to be tough for the Scarlets, but I still think you really need to show up their defence, and it's going to take time. I know Jared Payne's back on defence, but they still look a little bit soft to me, the Scarlets. So it's still plenty of work to do, I'm afraid.
And your thoughts on that try with the knock on?
Yes, no, the bollocks, wasn't it? It was a terrible decision. Absolutely terrible. Unfortunately, it's what we've come to expect in the URC. There was another terrible decision in the Ulster Dragons game, which I'll talk about in a bit. But that's disgraceful. I just can't understand how the TMO, we can all see it. We can all see it on our screens. We can all talk about it on Twitter. Why can't the TMO make that very simple decision? It was a clear knock on. It was clear. That should not have stood. Would it have made any difference to the result? Absolutely not. But that's neither here nor there. That try should not have stood. It was a very poor decision.
Okay, let's move on to Cardiff then. So go on, Harley. Give us your stat now then for the.
So, if you ignore the first 10 minutes, we won the game. So that's actually,
positivity.
I think we still would have lost by 1, to be honest. But that's by the by. I said it was absolute 10 minutes in, we'd let in 2 incredibly soft tries, like just unforgivably soft. And I was really worried. I predicted. I was only about a point off my prediction last week with 13-point loss. I thought it was going to be a lot more. I thought it was going to be more like 31-point loss by that. And then we seemed to sort of flick a switch. It's annoying me didn't do that right at the start. A lot of talk's been said about Tino Stabia, and he missed 7 points off the tee. That gets us another losing bonus point, which is quite vital at the sort of end of the league. To be honest, I think we're going to be bottom of the pack, and then you've got the very bottom at the end. But it is starting to become a problem. He's a fan. I think his playing game is unbelievable, but his kicking at goal is costing us. And I think we need to try someone like Ben Thomas, just have someone else kicking goals. Just let him say, you focus on what's going on between when the ball's in play. Someone else kick goals. Take it off. It's worked for other players before to make. When Jared was our main guy at 10, we had Anston kicked all the goals. And it worked. Other than that, we all right in defence. I said the first 2 tries were soft, but the last 3 were, Leinster really had to work hard for. I mean, this game did come up with the most peak Mike Adamson thing you'll ever see, though. So we had Leinster scored a try. Everyone was like, "Well, that's clearly held up." So anyway, conversions missed, and they go back, and then the TMO's calling it. He's been on the comms like the whole way through Mike Adamson saying, "No, right." He goes, no, Mike, it's clearly held up. So anyway, so the TMO shows him hold up. Well, I think he was offside and then decides Thomas was offside. And I think the only way this could be more peak Mike Adamson if instead of giving the original try and then cancelling it, he'd have given a penalty try but said it was just a penalty. To which eventually about 3 minutes later, Leinster score off. But it was just like, how could you see a ball down in that? Like you can see, like when they show the replay, Thomas Young's like underneath it, like and the ball's on his chest.
So
Rhys Carey played very well.
I'd say just go back to that for a sec, because that's all three of us now, because Jamie's got one as well. But surely by now, with the size of the URC, the importance of the URC now, it's not a small league. It's not Magna's 12, we've been doing this a while by now. We should know what we're doing with referees and all that kind of stuff. And TMO, I don't necessarily blame the referee all the time, because the referee can only see what the referee can see. The TMO's got 12 video angles run at slow motion and zooming in and all of this kind of stuff. Surely TMO should be better than this by now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all agreed on that then. Okay.
Yeah. Rhys Carey proves he's a fantastic battering ram from about 5 to 20 metres out. Is that enough for Wales? I'm not so sure. Because he was cut open quite a few times in defence. Leinster would clearly target him where he stands in the defensive line. He's very slow to cover. I think he stands a little bit too wide, and they were getting him on the inside basically every time they had a run. So, fantastic from defence. Ben Thomas, I thought, really good. Played most of that game at 15 because Beetham went off with a HI, which yet another Cardiff player off with a HIA, and it's never looked at. Not me ruling out ref. It's just something I've noticed this season. Former Dragons player Dragons and Bath player Max Clark. I thought he had a fantastic game actually. This first start for Cardiff, marshalled very well. I thought the pack was reasonable. Line out functioned fairly well for the most part. I think it killed us when Leinster started bringing on their subs. We may have gone for 6-2, to try and combat the physicality, but it just didn't match up. Losing Tamani up early on didn't help. We basically, it's no secret we've got two ball carriers in the Cardiff pack. Rhys Carey and Tamani. Tamani was off in 50 after 10-15 minutes, and Carey was off after 50. After that, we had 0 go forward. And you can't win a game if you're going backwards.
As we have found numerous times in numerous teams so far this season, it's I don't understand why we can't develop big ball runners. Why the whole point of the game is to catch hold of the ball and to run with it. And I don't understand why. We suffer at the Scarlets. We just don't have a big hefty ball runner like Jake Bull. He was the last big hefty ball runner, and Carl Maffoni, obviously. But why can't we just develop big hefty ball runners? It's not difficult.
The problem we can is the issue is getting them who can play consistently but can do all the other aspects of the game. Like Leon Brown's another fantastic ball carrying prop, but he's incredibly fragile, and his scrummaging is a detriment. It can be an active disadvantage. Carey, his scrummaging is a lot better. People still perceive it as a weakness, and therefore refs sometimes do look at it as a weakness. So if it's a 50-50, the arm goes the other way. But then, as I said, he's got that weakness in defence. There's issues around his fitness. Although, he's quite regularly doing longer things. But I don't know if that's because at regional level, he's not being asked to do as much as he would be in the international game. But the other issue as well is when we do have someone who's a great ball carrier, they end up being the person they don't pass to, and they have to clear out rucks. And then you find out, actually, they're not very good. Like, Tane Basham's not good. Great ball carrier. Absolutely stinking when it came to attacking to getting over attacking ruck ball. The amount of times he was penalised for Wales for going off his feet. And it's like, give Basham the ball, get Thomas Francis the clean, because he was one of the best he was one of our best breakdown cleaners we had in the squad. And they were giving him the ball, so he'd make 1 metre, and Basham would have overrun it. Because he's expecting someone like him carrying. And I mean, there are ways around it with tip on passes and stuff, but I just think not only do we not produce them, the rare times we do produce them, we don't know what to do with them, so we cock it up.
All I saw on Saturday night on Twitter, or X now, was everyone going on about Rhys Carey, saying he should be in the Wales team. And look, I like Rhys Carey, but I'm just like, no, that's not the silver bullet to Wales' problems. Would you put him ahead of Gav Thomas? No, I wouldn't. And let's not forget, the problem with Rhys Carey, we know he's a good ball carrier, but he's been rejected now by 2 national coaches. And it's a lot of this to do with conditioning. He's just not meeting the requirements that's needed from an international player. So I just found it a little bit strange. Everyone's sort of clamoring and jumping on the Rhys Carey hype train. I just thought, no, come on.
It with all the players. I mean, Morgan Morris was having it again because again, he's a good ball carrier, but also he doesn't fit in the mold of a number 8 like Alan wants. He wasn't the mold of a number 8 pivot wants. They want that option, so he's athletic, good footwork, is comfortable in the white channels, a fantastic, a distribution game that rivals the centre, which is what you get with Wainwright and Faletau. Nicky Smith. Nicky Smith is. I swear he must have pissed them on their cars or something, because I can't work out why on earth he isn't, because he's the one. I'd have him in over.
He's the best scrummager, isn't he? He is clearly the best scrummager in loose head in Wales, but for some reason Gatland just doesn't rate him. We know that. I
don't know if, again, because obviously we had the conversation last week about how Humph wants to scrummage, and Nicky Smith doesn't follow that. Nicky Smith is I'm going to do whatever it takes to get dominance of this scrum, whereas Humph seems to be wanting to coach the team to play legal, which I still think is naive and stupid, frankly. Like, you won't even get that at mini and juniors when you first start pushing in scrums. Like, they will, coaches will be teaching their props how to get away with an angle or to force the other one's bind, peck on the cheek here and whatnot. It's, yeah. I mean, I don't get it without Nick Smith. Like, I get the Tom Botha not being called up a lot more than I don't get Nicky Smith.
We'll talk about the Wales team in a mo. So let's talk Dragons then, Jane, and because it was replayed on S4C last night. So yeah, I didn't watch that either because my telly's not, but the cable is still fucked. So
yeah,
thoughts.
So when you look at the scoreline, 49-26, and you haven't seen the game, you just think, well, it's another thrashing for the Dragons. Now, whilst it was a heavy defeat, there's actually a lot of nuance and context to this. So we have to remember the Dragons got 20 players unavailable through injury and Wales call-ups. So we had to take a young team to Ulster. So you had guys like Joe Westwood, who's a centre, making his first start on the wing. And then you got young kids like Ewan Ross at fullback, Brody Coughlin, Luke Yendall, Barney Langton-Cryer, Harry Ackerman. So we took a fairly young team out there. And then you compare that to Ulster's team, who had their Irish internationals returning to them. So they had Tom Stewart, Tom O'Toole, Nick Timoney, and Jacob Stockdale. Also, they had the likes of Mike Lowry, Stephen Kitsoff, John Cooney, and Billy Burns returning for them. So this was a very strong Ulster team. And it was always going to be a tough night for the Dragons. And when Ulster got their bonus point try on 33 minutes, you're thinking, oh, here we go again. It's going to be a 60, 70 pointer. And by the way, that bonus point try, Mike Lowry's second try of the night, that should not have stood, because if we want to talk about poor URC decisions, that pass from Drew Postlethwaite was clearly forward. It went to the TMO for review. You could see it was clearly forward. And even the commentators, the pro-Ulster commentators on Fireplay said, that looks forward. The Italian TMO gave the try. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but decisions like that just aren't good enough. And look, it makes no difference to the outcome. But like I said, yeah, that's not the point. I can't understand how TMOs are getting these decisions wrong when it's so obvious, when it's so clear. It was a mile forward, but it was given. So yeah, you're thinking, here we go again. It's going to be a really tough night for the Dragons, another painful night. But to the Dragons, they didn't let their heads up. They stuck in there. battled really hard, and they came away with a try bonus point, which is what they deserved. The driving ball was very effective. We got a lot of joy from that. We got 2 tries out of it, and that's quite pleasing to see. The scrum did struggle, as you would expect. Line-out was hit and miss, but the driving ball has become a really good weapon for the Dragons this season, and it was made to good effect on Saturday night. In terms of individual performances, Dan Lydiate was excellent. I have to say, one of his best performances for the Dragons. He put in a really solid shift, very good defensively, worked his guts out all night. I mean, I don't want to say it's return to the old Lydiate. He was, throwing back the years, but it was a very good performance. Tame Basham, who was released from the Wales camp, so he started at 8. He was very good, carried well, tackled hard. He got a couple of key turnovers as well. James Benjamin was our top tackler. He put in a good shift. And the kids did all right, in fairness. The likes of Rossa, Westwood, as I mentioned earlier. Wales under-20s fullback Hugh Anderson came on for his debut, and he looked quite lively. But this was a lot better than Glasgow. And I know the scoreline doesn't reflect that. And when you read the headlines, it's the usual cliche bollocks of Dragons slayed, Dragons thrashed. But it doesn't give the full picture because Dragons worked hard. Unlike in Glasgow, I think that was the difference this week. You could see hard work. We were determined to come away, from Belfast with something. And it's a very difficult place to go, the Kingspan. A Welsh team hasn't won in Belfast since 2016. It's a very tough place to go. They had a very strong team. So I thought the Dragons did incredibly well. And I was just pleased with how, I know I might sound a bit strange, Sydney did incredibly well when they got battered, but you could see there was fight. You could see there was spirit there, at least. And defensively, it was better. And again, it might sound strange to say because we conceded more points than we did against Glasgow, but just to add the context to it. So up in Glasgow, Dragons had a tackle success rate of just 79%, and they missed 39 tackles. Whilst we shipped 7 tries in Belfast, we had a tackle success rate of 94%, and we only missed 11 tackles, which is the same amount of tackles as Ulster. So although we conceded more points, it was still better defensively, and the stats back that up. Also, Spearman fought for Harry Taylor because, Dragons are really struggling with injuries. So we had him on loan from Gloucester, the back rower, because we have a back row crisis at the moment. So he was parachuted straight into the team, made his first start for the Dragons, and he went off injured after 19 minutes. And apparently it is quite a serious injury. So, I just think that sums up the injury luck at the Dragons at the moment. Look, you still got the too many silly penalties, too many unforced errors, which don't help our cause. Some soft tries. And Ashton Hewitt was on co-comms on fire. But who I have to say was actually really good on co-comms. So the amount of times he kept saying we are our own worst enemies. I mean, he must have said it about 4 or 5 times, but he's right. But you can say that pretty much about every Dragons game. We're still making those unforced errors, those bad decisions under pressure and, really sloppy errors. But like I said, this was an improvement on Glasgow. The scoreline doesn't reflect that. And if you hadn't seen the game, you'd be thinking, yeah, same old Dragons. But actually, this was an improvement. And getting a bonus point, scoring 4 tries and coming away with a try bonus point at Ulster, I don't think is to be sniffed at. So, yes, some positives, which is that's the difference between this game and Glasgow. As you know, against after the Glasgow game, I didn't have any positives whatsoever. I don't think you could take any positives from it. But with this game, you can actually take some positives. So something to build on at least. But beaten, but much better from the Dragons this week.
And I think that's the way all 4 sides need to look at it now. That there are positives to be found in every game. Even if it's small things that that went well, that went well. Like with the Scarlets, there was a fight from a scrum, and they were trying to, Connacht were trying to do something that possibly may not have been legal, and Wayne Jones went, fuck off, son, there was 3 or 4 minutes there where the referee lost control of the game. And it's bits like that you go, actually, that, there's a bit of attitude there, there's a bit of grunt that we haven't seen before. So it's very easy to sit there and slag off teams because we're not beating somebody by 50 odd points and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, none of those players that went onto the pitch over the weekend are going there to have a shit game. None of them are there just to
Yeah.
take the money. If they were there to take the money, they'd be in England. You know,
Yeah.
it's
No, I agree. But like I said, you have to look at the lineups, right? You look at that Dragons team. It was very young. It was inexperienced. You look at our Ulster team. They had all their Irish internationals back. Stephen Kitsoff, John Cooney. Yes, I know they're in a little bit disarray at the moment. And we talked about that on the Dragons Lair podcast with Ian Frissell. There is a bit of chaos at Ulster, but they're still Ulster. And they're always a tough team to beat in the Kingspan. And honestly, I thought it was going to be far worse than it was. And I think for the Dragons to go there, score 4 tries, and actually come away with something, I think that deserves a little more credit as well. Also, disappointing, Wales Online didn't even do a match report for this game. So they did a match report for the other 3 regions, didn't do one for the Dragons.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the South Wales Argus, I say. And Chris Kerwin, who's an excellent sports writer, did a very good column. Who's always fair and balanced. And it's a heavy defeat, but there were positives, which, when you look at the scoreline, you probably wouldn't see that. But if you watch the game, there were positives for the Dragons. There definitely were improvements compared to the shambles up in Glasgow.
Cool. So talking of looking for improvement and desperately clinging to something that we can class as a positive, Wales versus France this weekend. France haven't been playing well so far this year. France have had a nasty scare against Italy, and I think we're going to catch the back end of that. So, what are you expecting from this weekend, Harley?
Well, can I just say, right? They were supposed to have had a reaction after the Ireland game because they got humiliated at home, and then they lucked their way through the Scotland game. They then lucked a draw in the Italy game. I don't think there is a bounce back. I think they genuinely have got something something has really gone rotten to the core on that France team after losing that quarterfinal, coaches going whether losing Untamak and Dupont. If you lose one and then have the other, that seems to be able to help coast them through. And if you look back to all the Wales-France games since the 2019 World Cup quarterfinal, it's usually been a moment of magic from either Untamak or Dupont that's taken them through and on to the win. I saw far more in Wales's game against Ireland than I saw from France in any of their games. I genuinely think this is a game we actually have a good chance of winning. Oof. I don't think, especially now they've lost Chalobah, so they're probably going to be looking at Tommy Ramos at 10, who's played a lot of 10 at club this season, but he's still prone to doing something stupid. They've lost Dante, who is a fulcrum of any of their go forward in the backs. Mofana's a fantastic 12. But he's not Jonathan Dante on either side of the ball. That's going to make things a lot easier for our midfield.
So
I think we've actually got a decent shot.
So where are they weak then? Because I'd still look through that side and you'd go man for man. Even if they're down to their 3rd or 4th choice in some positions, man to man, we're on a level. So. I don't necessarily see where. I get what you're saying about where they're weak when they're not as all singing, all dancing as they were in the World Cup. But I still don't think that we're in a great position to carve them open with a chainsaw. Do you know what I mean?
So, first of all, things that we can target. Their defence is, despite it being a Sean Edwards defence, it seems like the message just isn't getting through. He's not able to convey the buy-in isn't as there as has been with other teams. So, the blitz is a little bit softer, which means we're probably going to have a few more weaker shoulders than we would normally. Their wingers tend to be a little bit, their wingers don't. Dale Berry's quite good, but he's also quite small, and he's probably going to be on a, I will get on selection now, but I think he's probably going to have someone like Mason Grady just charge at him. Damien Penaud is showing, for all of his fantastic, bullshit magicness, he is an incredibly lazy defender. He's actually not that great under the high ball either. We don't know what fullback's going to end up coming in. So I think, we've got something to target there. We'll kick to compete. And maybe, go through the dink at the top. Luku's trying to do the Dupont defensive tactic of shooting up, so we haven't got the sweeper, so the chip kicks are a lot more easy to get through, along with inside balls. And actually, I think the ruck defence has been pretty soft as well. So I think we've got some fringe options. So actually, the Gatland style pick and goes to send teams backwards. I think we've got to go. We're probably not going to get dominance at scrum time. But I think we've probably got a pack who can just about hold their own until Antonio and Bay by tyre. And then I think the reserves aren't that great. And I think our reserves are probably on a par. So that's our weakness. And their line-out's been a bit chunky as well. Whereas ours is actually, whilst Adam Beard is on the pitch, and Elliot D, our line-out is actually working really well. And again, it seems to be a thing with Welsh teams at the moment. The driving wall's working really well for us, for pretty much all the sides. So I think we've got points there that we can attack, and I think we can build on that. Attack's getting a lot more fluid as well. So I think,
yeah.
But
I'm not saying we're definitely going to win. I'm saying it's not as hopeless as we thought at the start of the tournament.
I agree. I'm feeling positive. I am about this weekend. I generally do think maybe that is Welsh optimism. I don't know, but I think this France team are there to be beat. I really do. They've been poor, this Six Nations. Italy should have beaten them. As Harley said, they have frailties in this team, and defensively, we don't associate a Sean Edwards defence with being, frail, but they have looked quite frail in defence. And I definitely think that if they're taken, the only problem is, as Harley mentioned it, can we have parity up front? We know how big and dominant that French pack is, but also we're struggling to get over the gain line. And that's been a constant theme for Wales throughout this tournament. We're really struggling with ball carriers and getting over that gain line. Also, our accuracy in the red zone has been lacking. So any opportunities we do get, we are going to have to be clinical. But I think this is a winnable game for Wales. I really do. And, they haven't got Shiny Bear. He hasn't been great this tournament anyway. And Ali already mentioned Jonathan Dante. That's a big loss. They're there for the taking. I genuinely believe that.
So what changes, if any, then do you make to the Welsh? Do you make changes in personnel, or do you make changes in tactic to beat France this weekend, or both? So Jamie, go on. You go first on this one.
Well, we touched on it on the last pod, didn't we? So I would be thinking about bringing Mackenzie Martin now into that back row for Alex Mann, because as good as Alex Mann has been, he is looking quite lightweight at this level. So just to add a bit of grunt, I'd have Mackenzie Martin. Also, did you notice that he was put up for presser this weekend? So I just wonder, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to start, but I do wonder if he's going to have a big involvement in this game. As much as I like Adam Beard, and I know he's a big talking point on this pod and on Welsh Rugby Twitter, I would drop him for Will Rowlands, because I just think we need that extra bit of grunt. We're kind of against France now, a big pack. We need that grunt. We need that ball carrying option. So those are the only options that I'd consider making, to be honest. I just think we need to beef up the forwards a little bit, and I would do that by bringing Mackenzie Martin and Will Rowlands into that pack. But in terms of tactics, look, we just got to be positive. We're not going to out-muscle them. So let's chuck the ball about. Let's try and move that big pack around the field. But also, let's be accurate and let's kick well, because our kick and chase has not been good in this tournament. So we've got to have a very good kicking game. And whoever's at 10, where I expect him to be Costello, he's got to show some game management and a little bit of control at this level now. And I think France are there to be beat. I really do.
I think the issue with that is, and you've seen this in a couple of games, is in order to create the space for Costello to look to it, he's sitting so far back in the pocket that you're losing 10 metres if you're kicking. If he's played up flat, then he's getting ball going backwards, so you're not running onto the ball. And that's always the issue with a 10. This is where Dan Biggar was good, where Dan Biggar couldn't pretty much do anything to start with other than hoof the thing really quickly, because he had no space to deal with. He was constantly going backwards. The pack was going backwards. Boom, he could put it up the pitch. And Costello's not that kind of player. So it's a difficult one, because when you say we're bringing in Will Rowlands in, he's the ideal person to give you go forward, but he's only 1 out of 8. So he goes forward and gets stuck at the bottom of a ruck. Who's that next player that's coming in? And that's where we need I agree with you bringing in Mackenzie Martin. I think he's just got a bit more bulk than Alex Mann, and Alex Mann was my player of the tournament before the tournament started. I genuinely think he is. Him and Mackenzie Martin are the future of the back row. I just think he's got that bit of bulk that we're going to need against France. I think they just slow the game down massively, where every time we got the ball, we'll be working off 4, 5, 6 second rucks, and we won't be able to do anything.
I disagree with Sloan. I think we've got to try and keep everything as quick as possible.
I would like to. What I'm saying is I don't think we have the ball carriers there to do it at the minute.
I said, weirdly, I'm going to disagree with you because I'm picking one card. I mean, it's weird because I've got to pick between one Cardiff player or another Cardiff player, but I'd keep Manning. I think the way he's siding down big ball carriers, and actually he's not been given the opportunities to carry. I think actually maybe what you might want to do is
he's had 2 tries, hasn't he?
He's had 2 tries, yeah. Nice lineup. When he's been given the ball, he scored. I don't think Mackenzie Martin actually managed to impose himself on the game in Ireland as much as people wanted. Sevens clearly want to. I think probably actually just giving him another go off the bench. For me, Pat-wise, I'd be tempted. The problem is, right, I don't want to take Gareth Thomas off, but I'd say Domachowski is a more abrasive carrier. But Gareth Thomas gives you more solidity, and his tackling's fantastic, and actually sliding them down of the game. For me, I'm going to bring in bulk, but I'm going to bring it on the wing. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to drop it. I drop out Josh Adams because I was hoping that he was just a bit injured.
Bloody hell! Game or two. Are you okay, Harley? Are you okay?
This is the thing. I've had to concede.
I never thought he'd say
he's just
this.
not. He's lost his mojo. So I'd be bringing Mason Grady in on the wing.
I said that to the other week.
Actually, I'd be tempted. I'd be tempted to go 6 to make this into a 6-2, and I just have Hardy and Johan Lloyd on the bench as our backs, because Johan Lloyd will basically cover everything, and then you can always move Grady in. And then I would have Will Rowlands and Teddy Williams coming off the bench, and I'd have a full second row replacement just to add. And if you wanted to have him as a 6, and then Mackenzie Martin on the bench, so you've got the versatility. Then you can use Teddy Williams as a 6 or a second row. The only way I'd change that round is maybe bench. I know it's controversial because he's a captain, but I'd be starting Will Rowlands and Beard, because the thing is, our line-out goes to shit when Beard goes off. I mean, part of that is because him and D seem to go off at the same time. But I think we need an attacking platform, and and for us it's our line-out. I don't think we're going to get the dominance or even the parity at scrum time to make decent scrum ball there. But we've got more of a chance of off line-outs. And actually, when we have had the line out on our ball, it's gone better. So I'd be tempted to go that way.
Right, I think
who would be captain then, though? Who would be Welsh captain if David Jenkins wasn't playing?
I'd go to give it to Beard or Rowlands.
They've both been captain before, anyway.
I don't think Rowlands hasn't been captain of Wales, but he's captained the Dragons, and he's been a leadership role for. And actually, when it was peak Beard and Rowlands ran the defensive lineup, and Adams and Adam Beard ran the attacking lineup, and that worked really well.
So I think the issue is like that scrum against Ireland, that first half scrum against Ireland, found reverse gear really, really quickly. And if if you've been pushed that way. Yeah, I know. But
come on, Porter was not driving straight on the long scrums, let's be honest.
We said that right at the start, and it wasn't picked up and all of that kind of bollocks. And there's nothing to say that that's going to be any different in France, because the
what I would say is heavier. I mean, it's at home, not in France, but Kieran Asraki held his own against Cyril Bay in the Heineken Cup.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's the scrum that's going to be the issue, because France don't like kicking the ball out either. We've got a policy of not kicking the ball dead. They've got a policy of not kicking the ball dead. So it's going to be ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. So the chances of relying on lineouts are going to be less than a standard game. Yeah.
Well, then maybe we have to change the tactic and we go all out on the defensive attack in the lineout.
Well, and that's why I said if you change. For me, I think you have Beard to come on, but he comes on and stays on with Rowlands, and that's harsh. but to finish the game, having those two on the pitch in the second row to finish the game gives us a bit more of an all-round finish. And as good as Dav Jenkins is, and he is a bit of a wrecker in a ruck, if he knows he's on for 60, 65, yeah, then you've got Beard coming on after that, or Rowlands. I reckon Rowlands will be on for the full game with Beard to come on. I think that just gives us a bit more of an edge. And Gatland has subbed, we subbed Warburton in the past. If he thinks it's the right call, then he will make the right call. But I would do the same on the wing, where I would bring. The difference is I would take Rio Dyer, and I said this last week, Jim, and I think Dyer is a superb player, but we've got to play the players that are going to be right for that game. And
okay, I mean, I will disagree with you. That's not me being biased. I don't think it's right to drop Dyer, but
I'm with Jamie on this one. He's our best kick chaser.
Yeah, and
you need pace.
And if we're looking at kick, relying on kicking,
but
we need the best kick chasers.
Yeah, but we've said that kick game isn't working well, and the kick game isn't going to work well if your forwards are going backwards. I think we need to establish parity up front first before you even start looking at that kick, because you're losing 10 to 15 meters every game. Yeah, on that.
So how does dropping Dyer help with that then, with the forward dominance? Explain
because that. You then have you then have two big bulky wings. That's what I said. Is George Norton?
Really George,
hang on, let me finish a fucking sentence, man.
Oh, you're gonna fucking put George Norton in and have Tompkins and
so
Roberts
you have,
in the centre.
Of course he is.
Yeah, that's right. Make the wings really heavy and the lightest possible midfield we can pick in Wales.
So again,
but he hasn't got the gas. George Norton hasn't got the gas anymore.
Let me finish. He doesn't need to. Right. So you then have George Norton, Mason Grady running off Costello or running off 9. Yeah. And that's where your big head. When George North was actually running at forwards, he was getting more meters out of running at forwards than he was running at backs. Yeah. So when he gets caught in that tight ruck and he happens to just pick a ball up and go head down because he's going, there's a big fucker there and he just get going, he's actually really, really effective in attack. So bringing him and Mason Grady off 9 and off 10 constantly, yeah, is really going to fuck up that French back row. And I think the option of playing Joe Roberts at 13, Joe Roberts at 13 he's the informed 13 at the minute. The issue is who do you play at 12? And you're right, if you put Joe Roberts and Tompkins at 12 and 13, it's a really small centre partnership. I think the issue is we don't have a 12 that can take over from Tompkins, and we haven't got a 6'4" inside centre who's actually playing regular rugby at the minute. Yeah, so I think you have to look at who we've got available. And so I said, against Italy, yeah, I'd have Dyer back in because I don't think you need to play that kind of game against Italy. But against France, you need big, heavy runners. The options aren't in the centres. If you're going to play George North at 13, you still need to find a way of bringing him outside 10. And that just doesn't really work. It works where you bring your wingers out and then into the 10 channel. And that's how you get go forward. Yeah, you don't get go forward. We aren't getting anything out of kicks. Yeah, look at where we've been doing it so far. Our forwards are going backwards and not giving us a platform, so we're having to take an extra 10 to 15 meters to give ourselves a space to kick. So straight away, Rio Dyer is 10 meters behind where he could have been if we had a forward pack going forward. Yeah. So in order to create something going forward, you have to bring players like Grady and North and do something different, because France aren't going to lie down and go, okay, yeah, we've been playing shit so far, and Wales aren't playing particularly well, so we'll give them a fair run. They're going to come at us and they're going to be pissed off. So we have to put big boys down that 9 and 10 channel, or 10-12 channel, and I don't see any other option other than Mason Grady and George North, and that would be how I would use it. Because otherwise, we're just going to be.
That's not going to happen, though, is it? Let's be honest, that's not going to happen.
Well, at the minute,
it's not going to happen.
No, and that's the problem is we're already back into this. We have to do what Gatland always does thing, and do you know what? 10 years ago that worked okay, but everybody else has worked that out, and we haven't worked out that everybody.
Everyone has a big fuck off 12.
Yeah, and we don't. And we're sitting there and going, oh well, we can still play that same kind of game, and it doesn't. And when we're trying to do different things, people are working us out really, really quickly. And if we don't start bringing difference to our game, nobody wins World Cups by playing the same game week on week. You have to be able to change what you're doing and adapt it to what's in front of you. And we're not doing that at the minute. We're going, this is the game that we're going to play. And we're going to play that game, and we're going to keep playing that game and keep it and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. And one day it's going to come good. That's not the way international rugby works now. You have to be able to play what's in front of you. You have to be able to look at that defensive structure and go, right, where are they weak? And I'm going to run there. And if you haven't got big, fast boys on the pitch, then you have to find a different way around it that involves quick lineouts, quick rucks, quick, cheeky little passes, funny kicks and all of that kind of stuff. And we're not in that ballpark either. So for me, two hefty runners on the wing, and like I said, I think it's harsh on Rio Dyer because I don't think he's put a foot wrong. I genuinely don't, and I like him as a player on the pitch. I just think for having a big hefty boy in his place against France will actually deliver us a bit more go forward. Won't necessarily be done as a winger, but it'll be done off 9-10 or in the 10-12 channel. So
unsurprisingly, I disagree with you. I think we've got to keep down. We keep North at 13, and you just have to hope that Alec King has drilled it into them that North stands in. You're getting North standing in at 12 more, because at least that's going to pull defenders. And Costello and Thomas are both capable of making a pass that will miss 12 onto the 13.
Yeah.
And just by holding those defenders, it's going to give Tompkins some room. Because that's been the problem is when the ball goes from Costello, Thomas to Costello to Tompkins to North makes meters. The problem is a lot of teams have worked it out, so they swarm over Tompkins, knowing he's probably going to get the ball.
But we haven't passed the ball across the back line at all this season. We've tried
it once or twice.
No, we haven't moved that ball. No, we have not moved that ball from 9 out to 13, let alone 14. Yeah, that ball has not come across that line once so far this year.
Then explain how Tompkins has almost as many passes as Costello and Johan Lloyd. It's getting there. The problem is that it's getting caught too quickly. I mean, I know we quite often have Tompkins standing in at 10, and then Costello's a bit further wide. That's the problem is we're getting caught. We haven't got anyone who's holding that defence, and that's an attacking shape issue there.
Which
as the kicking, you're right. Going 10, 15 metres back to Costello is wrong. So that means then, do we need to stop box kicking more? And does that mean then, talking myself out my own decision, do we then drop Thomas for Kieran Hardy, who is the best box kicking 9 in that squad? Even if he has been playing crap for Scarlets most of the season.
I
think most Scarlets fans would agree they'd rather Archie Hughes.
Yeah,
but do you then change that? Playing. Because then, Dyer, you're not losing those 10 metres.
But I say he's not been playing, and that's, he's had a handful of games and not really. And we've said this season after season, Hardy doesn't play well for the Scarlets, but he does seem to. I think he's got more tries for Wales than he has for the Scarlets.
So speaking of scrum halves,
for Ospreys, but
speaking of scrum halves, do you think we'll see Gareth Davis again this tournament?
Probably not, to be honest. I think.
Do you think there's a chance he'll be involved against France, maybe on the bench?
I think he's
the only thing I can think is if they want that proper shooter again.
Yeah,
and to just try and spook Luku.
But I think this is
with a 9-10 who haven't played that often together.
But this is where we need to change the way that some of the way we think about the game, where we go, right, okay, for this game, that's the best option. Not he's the best 9 in Wales right now, but for this game, he's the guy that we need in there doing what he does best. And I don't know, I'd say Gareth Davis would be more likely against Italy than he would against France, in all honesty. Just
So with
because
George
of
North, though, Gatland just doesn't seem as a way spoke about this. He has said that he sees George North's future at 13. So I don't think he's ever going to make that decision unless we were really suffering an injury crisis and putting George North on the wing. And he just hasn't got the gas. But also, don't forget, Mike, George North, he has good games against France. You know, there's been a few moments, in the past 6 nations. You know, he's had some really good performances in Cardiff and in Paris. So expecting George North to have a good game. And I hope he does. I wanted to get play with the match just to piss you off, because I would love it if you were playing with the match just for you to say something nice about him.
Okay,
yeah, you would have to say something nice about him.
I don't know how many times you want me to say George North is good in attack, because every time I talk about George North, I talk about him in attack playing really well. And this is what I mean.
He was good defensively against Ireland, though. He was good defensively. He was.
Okay, I'll go back and I'll do I'll show you the stuff, Jane, where he gets caught behind a rock and he doesn't know where to stand. I haven't mentioned George North in defence. I've mentioned George North in attack and how to get the best out of George North in attack. George North at 13 is wasted. Yeah. And yeah, he hasn't got the gas that he needs to be an international winger, but he's got enough to go forward for 10 meters, and give us go forward up front. He is big enough and strong enough to run at big, bulky forwards in a way that most other backs aren't. Yeah, Mason Grady can do it as well, and we got to take.
But he's also very quick.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a certain set of skills within a certain set of players, and you have to use them to the best that you can. I'm putting George North at 13, and I will reiterate this for you, Jane, going forward with the ball in hand, he's a really strong runner, That is not my issue with him. My issue is putting him in a place where he gets the ball in hand more often, where he can cause damage. At 13, he isn't causing damage, I'm not saying that Joe Roberts would be any better. Joe Roberts would offer a different kind of style of play there. Whether that would work against France, I don't know. But what would work against France is having 2 big, heavy wingers coming flying off 9 and 10, fucking up their back row, fucking up their scrum half and outside half, and giving them something serious to think about. Instead of, they can focus on 12. We're running the 12 channel because that's our only real option. So we have to take the players that we've got with the skills that they've got and make the use of them. And I don't care if George North can't run 100 meters in 10 seconds anymore. I want him to run the first 15 meters like a beast. And that's what I talk about. Where do you change the people or do you change the tactic? If you're going to put him there, let him do what he does best, is my argument. We done on that.
Okay. Okay, moving on.
Right. So so I've got James's prediction for the game. So James's prediction is France by 8. On that, so I told him he's a traitorous scum, and he's gone maybe. So so James has gone France by 8. So Harley, your prediction?
Oh, it's going to bite me out. I reckon Wales by 6.
Cool. Well, that backs up everything you said. Yeah, Jim.
I go for Wales win as well. I just got a feeling. Like I said, I think France they've taken, as long as we got parity up front, solid, and we're clinical. And we got to be accurate. I think we'll win by. Well, I'm going to say Wales by 4.
Wales by 4. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go France by 1.
Wales by 4, yeah.
So yeah, France by 1 for me.
Oh, well, shit ups. You should have said I thought Wales by 1.
No,
Oh dear.
it's in Cardiff. The roof will be closed. I'm hoping the roof will be. If they insist on the roof open, it just what's the
I can't be
point?
asked with Roofgate again this week
Yeah,
because you
I
know
know,
the press they always
every
lap it up, and it's
it gives
boring.
them-
It's so fucking boring.
It gives
And
them
it's the same,
2 days
it's the same
worth
thing
of
from Gatland.
arguments.
We want the roof closed. They said no.
But yeah, I think that kind of dictates the kind of game that you get to play. Yeah, I just think it'll be close. I think it'll be a close game. I think neither side is really firing particularly well at the minute, and it may come down to one dodgy decision, particularly if you've got an Italian TMO. It'll come down to one dodgy decision here or there that will throw the game. But so it could go either way. In my honest opinion, it's one of those ones that if it goes either way, the other side will just feel aggrieved that they should have won it. So that's just.
And it's on a Sunday as well, on Mother's Day.
On
The
Mother's
fans
Day.
hate playing on Sundays.
Yeah.
They do. Headline, despite their headline thing being 9 o'clock on a Sunday for the top 14.
Yeah. On Mother's Day, though, of all the Sundays to pick, Mother's Day. I mean, I'm not watching the game, or I can tell you straight away.
There's going to be 23
game.
disappointed mothers somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of mothers going. He said he was just nipping out to get milk, and that was 3 hours ago. I wonder where he's gone.
It will not surprise you to learn I've booked a table for Mother's Day at Tiny Rebel, so I can have a Sunday lunch and watch the game. We planned this, so that's what we're doing on Sunday.
Yeah,
It's got to be done, haven't it?
I've got the wife, the mother-in-law, an auntie, my niece, my sister was coming, but she's working, and my mother can't make it. So I've got other chances of me slipping away to watch a game. Looking weak, unfortunately.
I said I'm in a weird situation because I've got my first Mother's Day as the dad of a small child, so I'm having to organise presents and a card from someone who has no idea what's going on. You know, it's just.
But the first one is good fun. The first Mother's Day is good fun because she'll just go, "Oh, give it to me. I'm a mother." And you'll go, "Fine, I'm off you. I'm over watching the game. Let me know when you're done, and I'll be great. I'll be fine." It's you'll love it, man. It's a good.
Yeah. For the record, there's no Italian TMOs. It's so we've got Luke Pearce in the middle.
Good ref.
Andrew Brace and Damien Schneider. I quite like that name, Schneider.
I'm encouraged by Luke Pearce as ref.
I'm not actually sure what
appointment.
UAR is. Which union is that? Is that Argentinian rugby? The UAR?
Yeah, that's,
I don't know. And then it's Ian Tempest, or Tempo, as you'll always hear him called. And if you're a TNT Sports listener, he's going to be the TMO.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think we worry too much about Jacqueline because Luke Pearce is very, very pro attacking side. But I mean, he's consistent with it, and you know what you're going to get. So it's not going to be any surprises.
Pontypool's finest, Luke Pearce from Pontypool.
I was going to say it's because it's a Welsh ref, and it's like, no, he spent same as Andrew Brace. He grew up in Cardiff, and clearly he fucking hated his time there because he really hates Cardiff.
It's a good ref. I rate Luke Pearce highly, so that's encouraging.
No, I agree. I think it's brilliant.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I said I did mention something. I don't know if we want to put it. It wasn't on news desk, and it's not really Welsh related. But the whole idea with TNT Sports potentially getting the autumn internationals.
I think if it's just the England internationals, fine, they can fuck off.
For me,
but we need clarity, don't we? Because that article, when you read it, it reads as though it's England fixtures only. Because that's what Sky had a few years ago, wasn't it? They had the rights to England autumn internationals only. But I just want a little bit more detail. Is it for all the home nations, or is it just England? That's what I'd like to know.
I think it depends.
For me, I'd be quite happy if the World Games were on there, because then it's more stuff condensed into one TV package I'm already paying for. It's like I'm not watching Super Rugby because I can't afford to buy yet another subscription. And people tell me how wonderful Sky Sports is, and you watch this, that, and the other. I literally only watch rugby.
Yeah.
That's my sport. That's the only one I watch. I don't give a shit about football. I don't care about golf. There's now a Sky Sports tennis, apparently. I was like, great if you like Wimbledon and shit like that. I don't.
Yeah. I think it works if, and I've said this consistently, you just need everything in one place. Don't care where it is, just get
a
all
rugby
the
channel.
rugby. Yeah.
That'd be great. A dedicated rugby channel that showed all the tournaments.
Okay.
Obviously, you'd have to have several channels, but it comes under one channel. Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the idea.
But
You've got to be careful because there are two ways it can go. Because you can have Super Sports, which apparently is great, or you can have Flow Rugby, which friend of the pod, David Lawrence from Scrum of the Earth, has banned himself from talking about how crap it is on his own show because he got fed up of saying it week in, week out.
But if you like in the UK, if you had a dedicated rugby channel, where even if like all of the URC games, for example, were on a Sunday, week to week they were on a Sunday, it would take a bit of adjustment, but you get to it. Or all games were on a Friday night, or you had 2 games on a Friday night, 2 games on a Monday night. Do you know what I mean? If it was consistent, you'd adjust to it, and you'd be able to watch all games from all leagues, and it will be fine. It wouldn't be a big issue. The issue is like you say, having to have TNT or BT, and then you've got to have Amazon for the autumn internationals for the Welsh games, and then BBC, assuming that they say BBC or ITV for international games, and then Viaplay for the URC. It's just a pain in the arse. So
yeah, just too many broadcasters and it is confusing, isn't it? I guess with Amazon, though, the only benefit is it is cheaper than TNT and it is more accessible. Also, as well, I know it's slightly different, but with the URC TV deal, I think you mentioned in the group today, didn't you? Or someone did, it's going to come to an end. We need to be careful what we wish for, because as much as we moan about Fireplay, at least we get to see every single game live. And if it moves to TNT, that might not be the case. We might not see our team play every single game live. So be careful what you wish for as well.
Yeah.
Because what happened is with the Premiership, it's because they played so many games. During COVID, BT played everything. But before and after, before you had to go on Premier Rugby TV, and then you could stream it for free. Usually an hour late. Basically put it on an hour delay, or you had to wait an hour until after it finished. Then they started charging for it, and we've seen the same thing with the Challenge Cup, where it used to be a free stream, and now you got to pay. Was it Jamie? You ended up spending, was it 7 quid?
I spent £7 watching Zebra Feed Dragons, and was it worth it? Absolutely not.
And this is where we got to be careful. I mean, it's quite nice. So I do recommend everyone who listens, if you haven't already, download Rugby Pass TV. Even if none of the domestic games are necessarily on here, but like all of the Celtic Challenge, the women's game was on there.
The women's game was on there.
Any game that doesn't have a TV deal, but is being broadcast. So if it's not got a TV deal in the UK, Rugby Pass are trying to buy up all the rights to them. So they cover the and others. So you end up with quite a lot of extra rugby. So I think the HSBC is on there at the moment. Because TNT Sport got the one game, they sort of depont for a bit, and then that was it. That was their hype gone.
Okay. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more next week, because I got a feeling that one's going to start to, as soon as a couple of people get a hold of it and go, oh, this means that the British League is coming, the Anglo-Welsh League is coming, and all of this kind of bollocks. I got a feeling that one's going to explode over the next couple of days. So, I just wanted to finish off tonight with a couple of things. So we said last week about doing a charity auction thing for Christmas. So we put a couple of posts up on social media, and that went down quite well. So, thank you for everyone that replied on that. That's definitely something that we're going to look at now. And then I start looking at the planning of it. Go, oh, fucking hell. I should have stayed quiet. So, hopefully we can get something up and running for that. So, finishing off tonight then, so we'll be back as normal next week. So, here's what happens when I do a pod. Okay, so I'll do this pod, then I'll do the Scarlet's pod. Then I'll usually have a bit of tea while those 2 pods download, and then I'll process them. And as soon as they're ready, if you're really quick and you're really good and you're really up for it, they'll be released on a Monday night. Okay, so the Scarlet's pod will be after, usually just before midnight, to be fair, but the WRRAP pod usually gets released at some point on a Monday night. So if you stuck with us and you're still listening this far, then well done. But most pods are released at some point on a Monday night. So if you want to be really cheeky and you want to get one step ahead of everyone else, that's the way to do it. You can get it on a Monday night, usually on YouTube. Or if it's late on YouTube, it's because I've had to do some editing because we fucked up something in the middle. That's usually what, because YouTube just takes forever to render if you do an edit. So yeah, catch us on YouTube and all the usual places, on Apple, on Spotify, or on our web service and all of that kind of stuff. But yes, that will be available. I just wanted to give a quick nudge to everyone that's lasted this far. Go on, Harley, you were going to say something, mate.
Well, I just want to say, good. So the YouTube's currently up to 176 subscribers. So yeah. Lee threatened.
You listened, didn't you?
That if we get to 200 subscribers, he will put up a video of him dancing to Beyonce. And I made the promise then on Cardiff Central Pod that if we get to 250, he'll take it back down. We don't have to keep looking at it. So if you can subscribe as quickly as you can.
Yeah. The deal is,
and then I've just got a little bit of advertisement for the Cardiff Central Pod. Because there's been a lot.
Let me explain Beyonce first, right? Because so the Beyonce thing is, my wife who showed me how to do this dance, and I do salsa dancing on Tuesday, so I was like, right, and okay, yeah, we'll do this and we'll record it and all that. So I haven't quite got it yet, but I will get it. And it's one of those TikTok dances and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I said it as a joke to the Scarlets boys last week, and they went, yeah, we're going with that, right? Okay, so I've put it out there. When we get to 200, when we get to 200, the goal is to get to 500. When you get to 500, you need to get to 1,000, and then you get advertising money and all that kind of stuff. Yeah? So I figured if we did like something on every 100 subscribers, then there'd be a goal to aim for. So the first one is me dancing to Texas something by Beyonce. I'm figuring if I got to do it at 200, you boys are we're gonna have to do a group one for 300, just to kind of, we got to commit to this. I will share the
link for a project my mate did for his media studies project for Mud Beer, which is around about the time of the World Cup from that year, and it's basically me jogging along a park and getting absolutely smashed by a big lad, which is hilarious. And I will reshare that. And maybe an updated one with a couple of the boys from down the club.
Oh, okay.
Because this is a face you want to see smashed in a tackle, let's be honest.
That's the face I want to see, that face in a cowboy hat singing "This Ain't Texas." Anyway, you were going to advertise your Cardiff pod, mate. What were you going to say?
So obviously we've had, various success with Lance Bradley, David Buttress, couple of, we've had Simon Red Mudrack on this pod before. So we're not. There's been a lot of issues about the Cardiff people, so we have got something in line. I'm going to warn you now, it's not Vicky Holland's, not Alan. They're too private, but we do have someone who sits on the Cardiff Rugby board, hopefully coming in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to start getting your questions out, please message the Cardiff Central Pod.
Yeah, don't message WRRAP. Don't message us on WRRAP, because I'll just go,
because I don't read it.
Yeah, and we'll just go fucking hell, Harley.
Please. So on X it's at Cardiff Central, or me on Twitter or Blue Sky, or on the Cardiff Central Facebook page.
Cool.
And so just let us know. But please remember, it's at Cardiff Central, not Cardiff Central Pod. That's the old account that doesn't work anymore, because we lost the password.
We forgot the passwords,
and the password to the email address.
Yeah. We've got no way. Somebody somewhere's looking at an account going, why do I keep getting all these Twitter things asking me to log in? Anyway, gents, we're all done for tonight. We'll be back again next week, where we will discuss in the Wales-France game. Back into are we doing 2 weeks? We go Italy.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
France and Italy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So a review of France, a discussion of Italy. Might get my friend Francois back. And we'll see where we go from there. So all the best, gents. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your rugby. I'll talk to you then. Toodle peps. Ta-da.
That's enough.
Take care. Bye.